The booking agents would yell at me when I went in to pick up my checks.
No way.
Office was in Yorkville.
Uh-huh.
We are getting handwritten letters, okay? Paragraphs. Mark had never said anything. One of the ladies, French Canadian lady, I think she smoked in the office, and she says, "We've got lawsuits. People are trying to sue us because of what you did last night." Huh?
And there we go. Now it's a professional setup.
There's a dirt road behind me, but there's a curtain in front of it. So
There's a dirt road. Oh, is that like a window there?
no, no, I'm just joking.
No. I was like,
It's
what?
amazing. When I started to have a little bit of I remember I'd seen I went and saw Kids in the Hall taping. A
Yeah.
friend of mine's brother had won some tickets for live Kids of Sweet Roll Toronto, and I never seen live television being filmed before. And I was like, it's awe I was in the Kids in the Hall. Um, the the fake walls and the mechanics of it. I was like, oh no. Are you telling me The Wizard of Oz is a fake movie? I wanted to believe in the
Yeah.
magic of television,
Yeah.
which I kind of maybe blame. Yeah, those very impactful, hopeful Disney movies. That's why you've got all these vicious women you're dealing with now at your generation, because they feel like I didn't get the golden slipper, so I get revenge on your fucking ass.
Yeah, the next like 10 to 15 years for that group of people is going to be very interesting to watch. I feel like we're starting to see a little bit of it right now with some of like the Gen X, where it was like those strong female empowerment Gen Xers who are like they're teachers, but they're also on OnlyFans. Like they can't find like the middle of the road. They want to be nurturing, but then at the same time, they want that like sexual liberation. And it's like those two things can't ever really like come together. You have to kind of pick a lane, you know?
It's very lucrative.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's hard to look away from that
Mm.
kind of industry.
The social media is a pirate ship of chaos and mayhem and you know uh
But you know there's treasure and you've heard about people getting treasure before. So you're like, put me on that fucking boat, dude.
some of the dumbest people you've ever met. I saw there was a
Yeah.
rash of Bitcoin kids that were coming through
Uh,
Austin and stuff, and it was here today, gone tomorrow, um, type of wealth from a
mhm.
massive abundance to I don't know what those highs and lows would be like from navigating the internet to accumulate a massive lump sum of income or and then have it
And some
swept up.
people by accident, like they just had Bitcoin from back in the day, and then all of a sudden they're multimillionaires overnight.
David Chow, David Cho,
Insane.
David Cho. You know the artist?
Yeah, yeah. He got paid in Facebook shares to do a mural for them, and then just out of nowhere becomes this like super wealthy guy.
He was a millionaire before that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, he was a
I thought
massive.
that was how he made his fortune.
He made the Linkin Park album cover. I'm not a Linkin Park
Oh,
fan.
no way.
That yeah, yeah, yeah. The first album, I think. Was it the first? Anyway,
You do look like you'd be in a Linkin Park cover band.
me.
Yeah.
No, that's me showing my youth because I should be in an AC/DC cover, but
Uh,
yeah, I'm gonna be 53 in December, so Lincoln Park was not in my. I'd moved to Europe enough to gain a better taste in popular music in
hmm
general.
I
Like
want to ask you about that too, because there and I you know how like you I feel like we had run into each other a couple times at shows in Toronto. And the thing that I always heard was that you had gone to Europe and you had found like a big audience in Europe. And I was like, that's so interesting to me because there's comics that are, let's say, like grinding it out in some city, when meanwhile, maybe their core audience is just like in another country and they just haven't gone there yet. Like there's
It's
some comics that can sell out arenas in England, but nothing in America, you know?
and typical example is Canadian comedians.
Yeah.
There is probably about 20, 15 to 20 Canadian comics that have massive successes in the UK specifically. Um, Stuart Francis became Ricky Gervais's opening act and favorite comedian. Um,
Mike Wilmot was big there before he even went there.
oh, Mike Wilmot. Yeah, Mike Wilmot was like, because of his relationship with Rich Hall, Rich and him, Rich had successes on SNL, and then was invited out to Europe to do a string of shows. There were some bookers that were fans of his thing, and he fell in love with it and ended up staying. And Mike, being a friend of his, going from a touring Canadian comic, like how many times in your lifetime do you want to go to Peterborough? You know what I mean?
None, none.
Like, you
As
never
little as possible.
and having your life threatened in the parking
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah.
You're fucking. It's a blood. It's just like you get to driving in February, 6 hours in between gigs in an ice storm. Um, Guys die all the time on that road. Comedians, especially with their lax, they're having their high school reunion on the road. Two
Yeah,
comics,
yeah.
30. It's fucking the Dukes of Hazzard. You know, no one has it anyway. I've got off. Are we recording?
I,
No.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We've been going. I realized too, like they're doing construction or something like below me or beside me. I keep hearing this drilling in the floor. So if I'm gonna keep muting my mic if while you're talking, if I hear some shit coming through. Like
Hmm.
couldn't be worse timing, but whatever, we'll go with it. I was
Just
asking you, how did you discover that, or did you kind of stumble upon that you had this kind of core market in Europe?
it was Russell Peters.
Ah,
You know, Russell. I was like, it all started. He came back from South Africa, and I forget, somebody on his crew or a friend of mine or somebody said there's billboards of Russell Peters in South Africa,
wow.
and he ended up giving me a referral to go perform at a comedy festival in Durban, and I saw those billboards, and I was like, wow, fuck, you can just plant flags where they understand you. And
Hmm.
it's a perfect example of like, um, I really, it kept me, I was getting too consumed by this short-sightedness of Canadian show business. And it got to a point where I felt I was in college too long. I felt that I was in my, um, I was a year or two past where, because I'd started to get some attention from the US. And in early 2000s, I'd gone to audition for Saturday Night Live a couple times.
Oh,
And
cool.
there was a discussion for Old School with Will Ferrell, and things were taking a there was a buzz.
There's a
But
hope.
yeah, but I also knew that I didn't have the luxury of a um financial umbrella like a lot of the American acts were doing. Like, I'm like, you're getting 10 grand to do a university? I'm like,
That's
I'm
insane.
doing Fanshawe College for like 900.
$250.
Well, yeah, it was a better paid thing. Uh, and I was just like, okay, we're financially, regardless of our acknowledgments, America is a big mountain, a big mountain. So I knew that I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket, and that meant North America. And I was, it just opened my mind to see his touring schedule of all these various countries. And I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't you go to Poland? Why wouldn't you go, you know, to any place that people will understand you. That will create you a
Hmm.
little more breathing room, opposed to being under a very limited site. And then it gets a little Lord of the Flies. It's already Lord of the Flies. There's no unions, there's no gatekeeping at that level. So you get just a pile on of insane people and talented people, multiple layers of mental problems. Every time I go back in the trenches and see what the younger kids are doing, I'm like, what the fuck? You got to get through being a person to even bring to the stage.
Yeah, yeah.
You are a terrible person. You know what I mean? And you're not
Yeah.
funny enough for us to keep you around. There's a lot of fucking scumbags that are in the comedy game that are just pure hilarious. They should be
Hmm.
any other career, they would be murdered by their bosses. The worst. They're the worst people. So um I immediately got the atlas out and just looked at what the structure of the planet was and Googled dominant English speaking stuff. And once I'd decided during my green card process, which I knew was going to take a minimum around 5 years, that I had an opportunity to actually acquire an ancestry visa through my grandfather being English. So after seeing Russell's tour regimen around the world, and it did become around the world, I was like, how fucking far are you going around? He's like, we're going to do it twice. And we're doing football stadiums this year. Like,
Yeah, didn't he do like the O2 arena?
dude, he's done
It's insane.
people's
Like that
this.
gives me so much. Some people would look at that and be like, "Why him?" Blah, blah, blah. I look at that and like, look at what we can do.
First of
Look at
all,
how far someone can take it. That's from here. That's fucking crazy.
there's no hit movie, no hit TV show. It's just asses in the seats.
Yeah, yeah.
It's wild. No, I remember I was sitting on one. He was getting a haircut for something we were doing. I was just being a cheerleader sitting in the makeup room, and his manager, who's been with him for a long time, I like him a lot. He's a good guy. And I said, would it be right to say that Russell Peters has sold more tickets in the history of stand-up comedy than any other comedian? And then he did some quick math, and I said, yeah, I'm like high school educated Hamiltonian.
Yeah,
I go, I think you're right. So I was like, I wanted to reach people. I wanted to reach as many people. I didn't care about, I was not interested in anybody's borders or I really wanted to just pull the fucking littlest hobo and
yeah.
go everywhere. And I kind of just said, look at realistically, um, every year that I've been in comedy, I should be able to go to a different country. I kind of did some math, and as I went to the first country, I was like, "This is great." What to say? So that became a little bit of a something I held myself responsible for. Is
Hmm.
don't rely on so much that you're getting off the couch. Get out in the world and get wet.
Hmm.
Go see some. I remember one time I was walking through a park in London with a friend of mine. And I just moved to London, and there were gypsies fighting in the duking it out in a park. And I go, let's go. And he goes, are you out of your mind? Like, and I would have never had that. And then now looking back, yeah, he goes, they will fuck you up. You can't just slide in with some popcorn
No,
and
no.
what you're doing. This
And
is
that's the best thing for a comic to do though, because like nobody really wants to hear about like your personal eating habits or like unless it's crazy funny. I don't think it would be, but like you want to hear about the time that you were walking through a park in England and ran into a bunch of gypsies fighting. It should sound like who did I hear say this? Rory Scovel said this. I had him on a podcast and he was like, I wanted my comedy to sound like I was telling the audience a secret that I didn't want anyone else to know.
yeah, yeah. No, it's
I'm like, that's the key right there.
and I think that's any comedian. Like some guys don't like the road and the traveling and stuff like that and have a little niche that they kind of work. But I would say you're, and I really press this of all the young comics that sleep on my couch over the last couple of years is like, first of all, you have no wife and kids, and you're a white guy from Canada. You can go anywhere. You can show up in a war zone and go, "Does anyone want raspberries?"
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And someone go, "Oh, get away there!" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
You're like, what's the point of having privilege if you don't use it? You know what I mean?
totally. And it comes with no cracker bullshit. You're always going to be the white guy from out of town, but Canada, you get a huge pass on it. I've never had any problem. I had a drunk guy in Norway say some that he hated Canadians, and I couldn't stop laughing because I go, this is insane. I've never heard this before. I've been trying to get to this point in my life and ruin it for the rest of the country my whole career. So it's finally working. Someone hates a Canadian.
You're like, am I part of that? Did I help turn that tide?
I am trying to keep it real out there.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, your comedy definitely is like not for the faint at heart. I will say that.
No, which is a great show title. A great show title. Yeah,
How did you find that voice, or was this just always your humor?
it's a whole defense mechanism that I developed
Ah,
to protect myself as a child. Is this I you can't hurt me, I'll hurt myself.
yeah,
No,
that's every comic, right?
the bars, a lot of the places, because I spent a lot of time around musicians and other artists and stuff like that. It was very difficult to impress those type of people. So it had to be something explosive and outrageous and something that someone had never seen before. So playing in those type of environments in front of that audience, I knew that if I could get them and I could make adjustments to just get into the mainstream in a like a comedy chain of clubs and having, oh, they booked me in all their clubs. I've as a headliner. Okay, I'm established under this. It's um I can make a living doing this as a touring headlining comedian. So I'll just kind of ride the line of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, but I'll judge that on a one-to-one audience to audience basis for the most part. But you know Hamilton.
Yeah.
Like that's what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
dude, it is wild.
It's funny though that like people from Hamilton and people from like Denmark would probably get along great, you know?
How did you just make that up? Because my girlfriend's from Denmark.
No. I just made that up.
For 2 days ago, she just left.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, the Danes are the shit. That's my biggest
Yeah.
Denmark. They 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 come with their families. Where
They're like, tell us the dead baby jokes.
I've had that those kind of
So
comments, people
crazy.
heckling me with like giving me throwing in worse ideas. And I go, I'm full. I don't need any more.
Yeah. They're
Like,
like, make it scarier.
make it worse. Make it worse.
Yeah, make it worse. What do you think that is? Do you think it's because like their normal society is just like so pleasant and bright that they really like embrace darker humor, you know?
I figured it out.
Why?
I heard my Canadian accent come out.
I figured it out.
They hate Swedish people. And the Swedes are so uptight and kind of IKEA, and there's a kind of a common sense and don't, relax, almost kind of Canadian that way. And where, yeah, Denmark is Texas. Yeah, they go,
Ah, that makes sense.
I go, the best
Yeah. They're the Hamilton to the Toronto.
100%,
Yeah.
100%.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, because I'd already moved to Hollywood, and when I'd gotten offered to perform in Denmark, and um, I was already on that train like 15 years ago when I'd moved to the US. So when I had an offer to do this gig in Denmark, I was like, fuck, am I going to still be planting seeds out there? Like Europe and the rest of the world's been really good to me, and some countries more than others. But do I really need to make a name for myself in Denmark?
Yeah, you're
Well,
thinking like, what's the overall like return on me investing
yeah.
my time there? Yeah.
Giannis, he'd come out to visit me in England, and he'd done shows with me in Sweden and stuff. And eventually, I think he got over the idea of like he's American America, and that's it, right?
Like it's like
Where I
Joey Diaz. I feel like he's like, why the
yeah,
fuck would I go to Europe, dog? Like he's like,
no one. It's some people are just not wired
yeah,
for it. Some people
sure.
can't take the physical and the mental strain of constant change and problem solving. And I'm
Which is
a
what travel is ultimately.
yeah, yeah, that kind of means to somewhere constantly is opposed to seeing a lot of people just kind of swim around the same fishbowl and bump into them. And I don't know if I answered your question, but
No, no.
Hamilton, I blame the city of Hamilton for all the crimes I've committed.
Yeah, I'm sure you get a key to the city with that statement. No, what was your one word for the episode when I asked you that?
For what episode?
For
Oh,
this episode. Like, remember, I was like, I have all the guests pick a word, and I find it interesting the different words that people like pick.
fingers.
Why fingers?
I don't know. I just sometimes look at my hands and go, one day I'm going to run into this kid that's doing this podcast and strangle him to death.
It
I,
is it
uh,
is funny though that like I guess when if we're talking about the word fingers, it's like that is probably the only reason why we're able to build everything we've built thus far as humans. So looking at them naturally is just a fascinating like these are the tools for everything.
and also, I think you learn a lot about a person by their hands
Mm.
over what they're telling you. Um, yeah, no, it's here we are. Uh,
Fingers. I can't wait to put that on the promo.
that um uh the checkered guy behind you, Stephen
Yeah.
Wright.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My mother to see Stephen Wright at Hamilton Place.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and Don Rickles.
Nice. I have a Don Rickles album down here somewhere too. I used to have
Yeah,
all the albums up on the wall behind me, but this is just like a green screen for now.
yeah, yeah. No, I really think that there's going to be a generation behind of what's happening right now that's going to mirror a lot of what you see on the wall behind you.
Mm. I see in Ottawa, there's a comic named Emmett Morrison, and he reminds me of like a young, like he's like a Mitch Hedberg, like Stephen Wright, like combo. Like a great, great comic to watch. And I think the second that he goes to like a bigger city, he'll be fucking huge because
Yeah,
he's such a
but
specific like type of comedy that you don't see anymore.
yeah, we saw that 20 years ago with John Steinberg. You know
John
what I mean?
Steinberg is great.
I'm working on a vampire movie I'm writing about John.
Can I tell you this funny story with John?
Love
I was
John.
on a show with John at what was it called? It was that club on Church Street where there was like the downstairs area that they used to do like karaoke after it was a comedy kapow.
Oh, I was thinking about the one near Bloor, Joanna Downey's old room.
No, not that one. That what was that one called? Now it's like an A&W now. So sad.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, I
It's
was like,
crazy.
fucking Robin Williams stood right here where you're dropping your fucking onion rings.
Do you know he went into rehab after drinking with Mike Wilmot that night?
No.
Yeah, he broke his Mike and him ended up getting shit corked, and he
Holy
went back to
shit.
rehab. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's fucking
Robin was
crazy.
making the rounds. He was in town. I ran into him when he was filming Jumanji in Vancouver.
Oh, whoa, no way. What was
Yeah,
he like?
he said I've met him a few times, and the only time that I actually had a real conversation with him was at the improv, and he was very gray, and I'd sat down and didn't realize who we had bumped shoulders, and we both, as a Canadian, I quickly apologized, and it's like I'm like Robin, fucking, and then I turned back, didn't want, he was clearly engaged in a conversation, but
Yeah.
that kind of like um Beetlejuice experience with a comedy icon of like, gee, like I try not to be startled. Like he knows that you
Yeah, yeah.
like I've been going for this since Mork and Mindy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But friendly enough a person for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
This show with Steinberg, we were on this show that was like it was a fundraiser for like one of those safe injection sites. And so a lot of the crowd were like
For
people who were on heroin, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And they were there to support
John
this
was in
like
front of a bunch of hair. That's a perfect year.
it's great. But there
And
was a
then
guy
you got the
standing at the
laugh.
bottom of the stairs just completely slouched over, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh yeah, he's rocking right now."
I know we're recording, but can you imagine John shooting a special in front of a bunch of heroin addicts?
That would be incredible.
Epic with like
Epic.
bottom of the barrel, like freshly just
Yeah.
people just nodding off in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
show.
I didn't like I wanted to see John was headlining and I was right before him and I wanted to see John perform so bad. And what happened was I can't remember what comic. She, her closer was like, I like my coffee like I like my prisons, black
Yeah,
and filled to the brim.
yeah.
And the crowd was, and then she just went, thank you, good night. And she walked right off the stage. She didn't even give time for reaction. She just
No,
said it and then got off the stage. And then the crowd just
coward,
starts
coward,
turning. The
cowardly.
crowd, the crowd starts turning immediately as soon as the host gets on. They're standing up and yelling and they're going
No,
insane and they're so angry. There's people leaving. And the host tries for like 30 seconds to turn it around and then he
yeah.
just goes, fuck it, leave then, leave, get out of here. Like, I'm not, fuck it, we're gonna stop the show. Like, I don't want to do the rest of the show then if you guys are gonna act like this, whatever.
This
And
is in Church Street in
yeah,
Toronto.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And so he turned to me because I was waiting on the wings to come on. And I was like, no, don't stop the show. Like, I still want to do my set. Like, I don't care. I'll do it to a room walking out. Like, I don't care. I want to see Steinberg perform. And
Yeah.
so, like, he brought me on. And then I'm so happy I still have video of this. He
Oh,
brought me on. And then he like, I just like tried to like settle down the crowd like a little bit. And like half of them left. And then like another half stayed. They were like totally fine with the joke and the other people left. I did my set, went fine, and then Steinberg came on after and crushed, like had a great like rest of the show. But I was like, how dare you? Like just because like some people are leaving, you're gonna shut the whole show down? Like that's insane. Like what the
yeah.
fuck?
How do you deal with conflict in your own life?
Yeah, oh, I'm just gonna walk away.
You're just gonna, that guy is not to be trusted, and but that's a great way. Now you can't get involved with that guy as a business, as a comedian, as an artist and a business. He's going to abandon you and your friends at the first turn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Asshole.
I mean, like it was a show of character for sure. I was like, okay, cool. Who knows? Maybe it was a very long time ago. It was like 6 years ago, so maybe he's different now. I don't want to shame shame him, but
You're a guy like a lot of people now, and I'm seeing this more and more. People are publicly admitting that they know that this will live on the internet, and that it is very easy for somebody to bookend something that you've said
clip it out of
and,
context.
and quickly build a case against you while you sleep.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wake up to, I don't know if you've seen what's going on in Canada right now with the danger cats, but
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been reaching out to like Brett to get him on. Like I want to get him on to be like, yo,
oh, don't
tell
get
me
Brett on. He's useless.
who should I
Get
get?
one.
Uncle Hack?
No, Walker.
Oh, Walker would do it for sure. I should get Walker on.
Ask Walker.
Walker is Walker is unbelievable. Like the first time I saw that guy on stage at Yuck Yucks, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
This is like nothing I've ever seen before. Like a complete 360 character.
Walker is my revenge.
Your revenge.
Is my revenge on Canada. I didn't want to leave.
Oh, so you left a
That's a
seed.
fucking house fire.
You you wound up the toy and you let him
Yo,
walk right
dude,
out.
dude. There was no danger cats. It
Yeah,
was the
yeah, yeah.
danger cat. And I
Yeah.
put these three entities into the same trajectory. You know, when you bring two retarded kids' heads together, you make a fight,
You let it
bring it
go.
down for ice cream. You hear that hollow. Ooh, 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 and you can't get and like his hand slipping, and you can't get the
Yeah,
condom
yeah,
coming
yeah.
out.
That's the danger cats.
This is the promo, by the way. Is
Yeah,
me,
yeah. We're gonna cut this and use it for the
blue,
promo.
waterhead. Like, listen. Anyway, Johnny Carson is what I was talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
There's gonna be another Johnny Carson, you think? I think that's already happened. I think that's Rogan. I would say that's pretty much Carson level. I would say it's bigger than Carson in terms of reach. Because there was people that had been on Carson like 11 times, still not famous.
yeah,
You
you
know, it
got to
was
figure
just certain people that took off.
mathematically. You got to go like I've always looked at like I remember my electrical teacher explaining to me that electricity ran like water, and it kind of put a perspective on information too.
Mm.
And uh, it's the JRE experience is shore to shore,
Yeah.
all the way around. It's an eclipse, um, and but yeah, there in it's a very kind of it's very much a Howard Stern Johnny Carson marriage in this paradigm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
I'm just
good.
trying to beat Canada's Ron Bennington. That's all I'm trying to be. I'm
Who's
trying.
wrong?
Ron Bennington, you ever heard of Unmasked? Unmasked is like this great series. He has a show on Sirius XM. I think he's done comedy like a few times. And he does these kind of like long interviews with comics. And it, for whatever reason, when they're on his show, they just like oddly open up. And I've found that with a lot of like comics that I've had on this show. Like there's just something about this one-on-one environment where we're not like staring at our fucking cell phones the whole time or like trying to look over each other's shoulders for who else is in the room. Like you would
Isn't it weird that you have to cover someone's face to keep it real? So,
yeah, 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 yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Ask anybody. I talk constantly. There's really, my off, it's all one package for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. You're not gonna like put on a mask in
No,
front of anyone.
I've been living a mask.
Yeah. I've been
So
trying to like fucking be more just myself all the time, which I think is part of doing this podcast is helping me with that.
yeah,
You
most
know?
definitely. It's the same reason I've been doing one the last 10 years. It's far from profitable, but
Yeah.
is a good experiment to have this long conversations with people.
Hmm.
Um,
Where I
and
wouldn't normally get to, right? Like I sat and chatted with Breslin for an hour. When the hell would I get that opportunity?
no, and
Um,
just for archival purposes, you people should be having the longest conversations they can from Mark Breslin because
mm,
uh, people in hindsight are definitely going to be like, fuck. Like he's been holding it down,
hmm.
censorship, uh, zero censorship. And if there's anybody, he'd never tell me, but the booking agents would yell at me when I went in to pick up my checks.
No way.
Office was in Yorkville.
Uh,
We are getting handwritten letters, okay? Paragraphs. Mark had never said anything. One of the ladies, French Canadian lady, I think she smoked in the office, and she says, "We've got lawsuits. People are trying to sue us because of what you did last night."
holy shit.
And I've never had that kind of luxury anywhere in anything. And that's
Yeah.
part of the reason I did press for doing more things in Europe is they didn't really have the hangups. In fact, I did very poorly my poor performances in Amsterdam due to the lack of taboos and
Oh, true.
yeah, how North American I was. I did redeem myself at a music festival years later, but it was very humbling to see that regardless of the pressure points that America was used to, the Dutch were like, "You're kind of old fashioned, son. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a little behind. We've been pissing on like we got a whole water slide of just urine
Yeah, yeah.
and all you can eat prostitution." um, which I think Canada inevitably is going to fold into that. The sex and drug, the hippie aspect of Canada is going to be once they learn how to monetize sex in Canada, the marijuana and sex trade will be on point. It'll
It'll
be
push back. Yeah.
anyway. I'm gonna be a
This
hooker.
True. There's always a question that I always ask my guests towards the end of the podcast, and is if you could make a phone call to a 15-year-old version of yourself. The reason why I say 15-year-old version of you is because it's easier to put yourself where you were and who you were at that time and give more poignant advice when it comes to someone of that age. What would you tell yourself based on what you know now?
If I was born in 71, what year was it when I was 15?
84? Is that right?
15. Okay, I know where I was. Yeah, that was a bad time. Um,
86.
I just started high school, I think. Buckle up because you're not going to believe it. Wouldn't have believed it.
Where
Any
you
of
can take it?
where not where you can take it, where I've taken it. It is it would be bragging.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know
You're
what I
like, I don't want
mean?
to get him too psyched.
It's not even people who know. And the shit I've had opportunities to do is like I'll put my resume and experience against anybody's as far as a international entertainer, stand-up comedian from Hamilton who moved to Vancouver in 1993 to pursue a career in comedy. But I started in 95. Took me a couple of years of just some general self work and
Hmm.
make some adjustments for a couple of years until I could commit to performing.
I feel like I'm in that stage right now where I'm trying to just get my life in order so that I can properly, I can give stand up the respect that it deserves, you know?
Do you have a girlfriend?
Yeah.
Are you going to marry this girl?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Now she's ride or die. Just follow me anywhere.
Yeah, I know, but it's a mistress. Comedy is a mistress, and it's the most
She's well
unsettling.
aware. She's well aware.
Yeah. How old are
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. Expectations were set early for
Are
sure.
you 30 years old yet?
32.
Okay. And she's a 15-year-old me.
31.
Ah, she's 31. That's close. Yeah. No, good luck.
No desire for kids either, so we don't have to worry about holding
No,
that
that's
down
great.
anywhere. Yeah.
That's the same with my girl's 10 years younger than me. Uh, and she has no interest in children. We're trying to get to a space that we can buy a Newfoundland dog.
I thought you were gonna say a Newfoundland child.
No, I don't like being around with people with
You're like, fuck that. Uh,
Newfoundland's nice. They're just, you can't stay there. You got to get
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? You got to get
Any, I
out.
feel like that anywhere in Canada, I can stay there for about a couple days, and then I'm like, all right, it's time to go.
Have you had Derek Edwards on?
I haven't, but yeah, I'd be interested in having him on for sure.
He might be he's top five greatest comedians to ever come out of Canada.
Wow.
He had a
Yeah.
joke he goes, I had a gig in Slave Lake. He goes, it sounds just as inviting as it sounds. He goes, they were angry because I got to leave. And he had the gig in Slave Lake. And
That's
apparently,
great.
I think he said he'd bombed. And no one even heard of Derek having a bad set. It was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
patients, like Ron James or, wherever Canadian iconic stand-up comics. Um, but yeah. What were you based out of?
I started in Brockville, is where I was like got interested in comedy, and then I would go to Kingston, Ottawa, and Montreal when I started, and then I moved to that was for about 3 years, and then I moved to Toronto, and then I stayed in Toronto for like 9 years, I want to say 8, 9 years, something
You're
like
doing
that, and now I'm in Ottawa.
I was just with Tom Green last night.
Oh, no way.
Where he's at the mothership all weekend.
I haven't run into him yet in Ottawa, but I know he does Yuck Yucks quite often. I should like go check out one of the shows.
Yeah, I talked to him. I'm sure he'd be receptible to probably being interviewed.
I would
He's
love to have Tom on for sure.
built a whole barn podcast in his farm, and he's got a donkey and a mule, and
Yeah,
I
I was
think
just listening to the Rogan episode actually, where he was just on that.
yeah, no, it's cool. He was doing his run through for his special that he's filming soon. So
Oh, sick.
it was great. It was the most relaxed, and he clearly can see that he is been taking the stand-up thing very serious since
Yeah.
get-go.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
It was funny. It was silly. He'd done some musical stuff. It was great. It was really good. I'd never really sat. But sitting in the balcony at the mothership is not really a bad spot to sit to do anything. And I just perched up there and watched an entire hour and plus of Tom do his run through for his uptape.
Wow, that's great that he got to run it there.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. I think it's going to be spectacular, and I think people are going to be really surprised. And
Hopefully I can get him on just to promote it even, like when it comes
hey,
out.
if you're living in that neighborhood, you're definitely going to cross paths. I don't know if you've talked
Yeah.
to Aaron Belial, but Aaron's around quite a bit.
No, I haven't. Um, Jason, I'm running off on time here. I'm gonna share your Instagram for people to check out. It's Jason Rouse 666 on Instagram, at
Yeah,
Jason Rouse on YouTube, and go to jasonrouse.com to check out all your touring dates.
tons of stuff.
Yeah, tons of stuff up there for sure. Do you have anything else that you want to promote?
I got a movie on Amazon called Spare Parts. It's a little horror movie. Come to Austin. You should take this, pack it up, and come down to Austin. And on sometime between July 1st and the 5th, I'll be doing an all Canadian lineup at one of the local comedy clubs here.
That's
So I
sick.
would publicly invite you if you would be interested in
Got to get my
performing.
passport renewed for sure.
Get your passport renewed and grab your missus and
Yeah,
come down,
yeah.
spend a week, 10 days, sign up
Yeah.
for a couple of Kill Tonys, have some barbecue, and hang out in 110 weather with some really cool people.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, man.
All right. Yeah. Shoot me those dates. July, what'd you say? July 1st?
Between July 1st and the 5th. Now, I
July
haven't
1st to the
decided
5th.
whether or not we're going to do it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a weekend following the 4th of July in Texas. And you got to think 4th of July in Texas, right there. What do you see? Monster Energy drink, cars jumping over barns on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Comedy
sick.
hopping. It's cool.
Yeah, that sounds great, man. I'm gonna get that sorted out as soon as I can. We got time.
You got time.
Yeah, yeah. Fuck, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah,
And
of course.
I have shows all over the internet and things to do. And I am dropping a special on April 1st that I filmed in Denmark, and it's going to be pretty sick. It's got kind of like a
Are you putting that on YouTube?
I think so. I got to really kind of look at what my obligations are. I really don't want to kind of purge it into a place where it's immediately going to be attacked or what have you, because it's. I was doing transcriptions for editing, and it was like, holy fuck, I've really done it this time. I think I broke the house. Yeah.
Nice.
So, but thank
Well, send me that link and I'll put that in like the top comment of this episode. So when people watch it, they can always go watch the special.
Fantastic. I appreciate that.
All right, man. We'll have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
All
Talk to
right.
you soon.
Peace. Talk soon.
You've been listening to The Johnny Rogers Show. New episodes air every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.